Hey everyone, James Brandon here. If you don't know me already, I'm a travel and landscape photographer based out of Fort Worth, Texas. I've done several things with On One in the past, but I'll be doing quite a bit more going forward. And with this spring into summer series, I was asked to find an image that kind of embodied summer and to process it. So what I came up with might be a little bit different than what most people think of when they think of summer. So let's hop right into On One Photo Raw. And here you'll see the grid view. And what you're looking at here is a mountain range right outside of Tucson, Arizona. And a couple years ago, now I'm from Texas, and in the springtime is storm season for us. And I got into storm chasing several years ago. But what happens is storm season usually dies out at the end of May, beginning of June, somewhere around there. And after that, the storms kind of move up north to the northern plains and even into Canada sometimes. But what happens after that in the summer is monsoon season starts in Arizona. And I had always wanted to chase the monsoon. It's such an incredible phenomenon, and one of my old friends, Michael Binsky, is known for that out there. And my friend Mike Majuel and I were able to go out and spend about a week out there chasing with him back then. I think this was 2015, but we just spent the whole week chasing monsoon storms. It was absolutely incredible. It was beautiful and just stunning to look at, and the colors and everything like that. It was crazy. So here we're getting into this storm that we were watching building. This was only like 5-10 minutes maybe from our hotel. So we didn't have to drive far to get to this, but we were watching the storm build. I'll go back up here. We were watching the storm right here, and it was building and building and building, and all of a sudden the bottom just dropped out of it. It was producing all this rain up inside of it, but it hadn't started dropping it yet. And all of a sudden, just the bottom fell out. And it was just this massive downburst of rain and outflow winds. And then you can see that it died off fairly quickly. But what we were doing was, or what I was doing rather, now both of the mics, Mike Majuel, Michael Binsky, they had lightning triggers on their cameras. And I didn't have one with me. Actually, I don't have one at all. So what I was trying to do, I was trying to capture the lightning just on my own. Like this was broad daylight, but I was able to set my camera up to maximize the possibility of catching one. So you can see here that I was at ISO 100, f10, 150th. And what I would do is I would just hold down the camera and burst. And what you're looking for is these like little staccato lightning strikes where one strikes and then it goes into a succession of maybe like 2, 3, 4, or 5 more strikes after that. And it's just boom, 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 like that. And if you can react to that first strike and then hold down burst mode, you have a decent chance of catching the bolts after that. So that's what I was going for here. And I think I probably slowed it down a little bit more. No, not really. I stayed around 150th. But you can see, like, I caught a few, throughout the day. So I was pretty happy with it. And after that, it just got crazy. Like we chased the storm around forever. It started producing rainbows, and you can see some of the ones that I've slightly processed. That one looks really weird. Oh, there we go. It just had to finish loading. But anyways, here's what we're going to do today, or here's what the goal is. We're going to take some of the lightning strikes. You can see that I've already given them a 1 star here, so I can sort them out. We're going to take some of these lightning strikes and then try to stack them together in an image. So what I don't like about these lightning strikes is that they weren't really during the best part of the storm. So I want to take these strikes and then apply it to one of these images up here where the rain curtain is so incredibly heavy. And I think I had started one of those too. So what we'll do here is we'll hop over into the filters, we'll turn that on, and we've got 1 star there already. And there we go. So these are the 3 images that we're going to use. So this is going to be my main image. And then we'll take this image and this image here. We'll take the lightning strikes from them and put them over here. with layering. And it's not too hard. It's just something that if you haven't done before, it might be a little bit weird to you because you're having to work with blend modes and on-one layers, and it's just, it's different if you haven't done it before. So what we'll do first is we'll hop into this main image here, and we're going to take it over into develop. And we're going to make this look as good as we can with the raw processing. Okay, so, the main things I usually like to do is I'll pull back the highlights and bring the shadows up a little bit, and then kind of play around with the exposure and contrast and really make it kind of come to life, so to speak. And you can see that by adding that contrast, so it was like right here before, just by bringing up that contrast, you can see how much of the character of the storm that we can pull out. We can start seeing the shafts of rain coming down over here. We can see all these beautiful dust spots come into play, and we'll get rid of those here real quick. But, by bringing up that contrast, it's kind of bringing in too much of a grungy kind of feel to the mountains here. So we'll bring up the shadows a little bit more just to counteract that. Okay. We just want to get it to a good stopping place here. And in the basic section here. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is we'll use this little tip that I picked up from watching one of Matt Kloskowski's videos, where you take your structure all the way up to 100 and your haze all the way down to 0, and it produces this absolutely horrendous image. But you can use this to really, go through the image and find the dust spots. Okay, so we'll come over here, we'll grab the little retouch brush, and then we'll just draw over these dust spots. Should go pretty quick here. One thing that is not an easy thing to accomplish is to keep a clean sensor in Arizona during the monsoon. You're usually dealing with storms that are blowing like 30, 40 mile an hour winds right into your face from the outflows, and you're just going to get dust on your sensor. We got hit by some haboobs, which is the official real term for dust storm. And that's where you're just caught in a sandstorm that's just, there's sand blowing everywhere, and it's just almost impossible to keep your equipment clean. So I think that's about it. Not too bad there. All right, we'll just go back to structure and haze. Oops, there we go. Just double click each of those to reset them to 0. And I don't think I really want to do anything with the lens correction. This is a new feature in this version, and I'm a big fan of adding it because a lot of times I love having lens correction in there. But for this one, I don't really want to brighten it up any, and I kind of like the vignette around the edges, so we'll leave that off. And I'll have to be sure to turn that off on the others too, so we can keep everything fairly consistent. All right, let's see. We can play around with the temperature a little bit, see what we're dealing with there. I kind of like it to be a little bit cooler here, so that's good. And then if we want, I think I might want to warm up these mountains a little bit. So, but I might wait till we go over into layers to do that. You can do it in develop by doing a local adjustment here and using the masking tools over here. But I kind of like the masking in layers a little bit more, so I'll probably wait there. But we can bring up the vibrance a little bit, saturation, just to get it to a good spot there. And that's kind of bringing out the blues and the teals. You can see like a little teal color right at the edge of the rain shaft right here. And that's probably the hail core of the storm. It's a little hard to tell right here, but if there's any hail in there, and there probably was, that's what that is. If you ever see like a teal, like really light blue glow coming from the core of a storm, that's what that is. Okay, let's hop over to the next image. We'll go back to browse. We'll move over to this one, and let's develop this. Okay, so we've got a nice lightning strike here, and it's got this little purple glow to it, which is great. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the exposure and we're going to bring it way down. Okay, and you'll see why here in a second, but I just really only need the detail from this lightning strike. So I'll maybe pull up the highlights and the whites a little bit just to kind of make that thing glow. And we really just want to bring out the details in that lightning strike. Okay, so maybe something like that. I don't want to lose the purple in it, so I might want to bring my tint up a little bit just to bring that out a little bit more. Okay, so something like that. All right, let's hop back over into Browse and go to the next one. Here we go. And you know what I'll actually do is I'll go to Grid View here, and I'm just going to click this one, hold down the Command key on a Mac, which would be Control on a PC, and highlight that one. And then I'm going to right click and then do Sync Settings. And that should give us the exact same result, like that. Now I'm just thinking out loud here. I think what I'll need to do is go back into Develop, make sure I don't have lens correction on. I don't think it's a huge deal, but I just want to make sure that my files are consistent here. I don't think it'll matter in the end because I'm not using the entire image from these, but just to be safe. Okay, now I'm going to click this image and then hold Shift instead of Command and click the last one. That's going to highlight them all. So if I had 10 files here, you could do Shift click and then highlight them all, or you could Command click each one, or you can hit Command or Control A to highlight them all like that. There's so many different ways, but Shift click like that works great for me. And then we're going to go over into Layers, and then we'll just say Add as Layer. Okay, so here we are inside of On1 Photo Raw, and as you can see over here on the right hand side, we've got our base image with 2 layers on top of it, each of those being one of the lightning strikes. If you want to see the bottom one, you just turn off each of these layers by clicking the little eyeball icons there. And now this is going to be our base image again. So we've got the mountains here, we've got the intense rain shaft coming down here, and the storm overhead. So what do we do from here to bring these lightning bolts in? Okay, so let's first get started on this composite 2, this first one on top. If we turn it on, we'll lose sight of that base layer, but that's no big deal. We know that it's just sitting on top there. So to get started bringing this lightning bolt in, we're going to highlight that layer and then go to the blending drop down right here. So if we click this, we'll see all of these blend modes that we can change this layer to. And the one that you're going to go to for stuff like lightning strikes and fireworks and car trails and things of that nature is going to be either lighten or lighten color. But in this case, will probably stick with lighten just because I like, it's a subtle change. But if you look at the bottom of the lightning strike there on lightning color, it's bringing in a little bit more of that purple glow around the bolt, and it's kind of got a hard edge on it for some reason, where the lightning one, it's still there, or lighten one, it's still there, but just not as strong. So I'm going to choose that. Now you can see that it looks really weird over here on the right hand side. This side looks mostly okay. So what we're going to do to fix that is click our masking brush over here. We'll make this a little bit bigger here, and I'll hit Command I. And this is going to give us a mask, okay? So if I hit Command I, it's going to put a black mask over the second layer here. And now we don't see anything. So what we have to do to bring that lightning bolt in is to paint around and find that lightning bolt. Okay, so first thing I'm noticing here is that I'm at a 49% for opacity. I'll bring that up to 100. And once you find that lightning bolt, you kind of just follow it along as you paint around. I think the edge is a little bit too soft on here, so I'm going to hold down Shift and hit the left bracket key to decrease my feather. Okay, so I'll just draw up until I see the end of the lightning bolt. There we go. And then I want to follow these little tails that come out and make sure I bring all of that in, and then just follow this all the way down to the bottom. All right. That looks pretty good right there. And here I'll go ahead and hit Command plus to zoom in a little bit. I'll go up to my navigator here and get over All right, let's use the bracket keys to get a little bit smaller here. And now I just want to clean up this strike a little bit. I'm going to take my opacity back down to probably around 30, 34 is fine. I'm going to hit X to go into paint out mode. And then I'm just going to go along the edges here and clean up some of that glow. Because I like the glow. I wish I could bring all of the glow in and make it look really nice, but it would kind of just clash with the rest of the image, I think. So I think I just want to bring in the strike for the most part, the actual lightning. All right, hold down space bar to drag up. And then I want to get rid of this little issue here. Like so. Because there's a very slight edge there. So you want to just clean that up and make it kind of blend in more. Okay, like that. I'll hit Command 0 to zoom back out. And there we go. So next thing I want to do is go back to move. And with this layer highlighted, now I can just move this strike around anywhere I want. So I could put it over here. You can see here that there is some glow being brought in that's not as apparent over here. So you want to keep that in mind. And I think what I want for this one is I want to bring it down just to the edge of this ridge right here. So it kind of looks like it's striking behind it. I can zoom in, move over, and then make sure it's just placed right there. And since that brought in some more of that glow, I can go back to my brush. Okay, hit apply, make it bigger, and then do a little bit more touch-up work here, just to make it look a little bit more natural. Okay. Let's try that. I think that looks pretty good. So now we'll go up to composite 1. We'll turn that on, and then we'll do the same thing. Set it to lighten. Get our masking brush out. We're going to paint in, but then we're going to invert the mask. So hit Command I. And then we pretty much know where that is. Take my opacity back up to 100 here. We just have to find it. There it is. Okay, find the top, and then we'll just follow it all the way down. Right there. And I think this one looks pretty good for the most part. Maybe we'll touch it up right here at the top a little bit. The glow isn't too bad up there. Let's just see if we can fix it up a little bit. We want to paint out, and let's increase this feather a little bit. We'll take our opacity down again. Just want to get rid of some of it there. All right, I think that looks pretty good there. Hit Command 0 again, and then we'll hit V to go to move, and then we can just move this around a little bit. And of course, just like the other one, we could put this anywhere, but I kind of like having them both over here on the edge. So this one will be coming out of the clouds here and striking this ridge back here. So something like that. Okay, and I think that looks pretty good. So now we just need to go over into effects and add a little bit more drama to this scene. The first thing I'll do is I'll go into the layers, and then I'll merge all layers. So there's shortcuts you can use of these, and most of them are similar to what you'd find in Photoshop. I want to create a new stamped layer, and that's going to take all of these layers and create a new stamped layer on top, which is just that whole image together. But what On One does is it includes, since I moved these layers below, it includes all of that. So if I zoom out a little bit here, you'll see that that is still, that box is still off the edge. So if I take this over into effects, it's going to look really weird because you're going to have some of that image over here. So you just have to know that ahead of time. So what I'll do is I'll bring up my crop tool and I'll crop that in. Okay. And it's hard to tell that I did anything there, but just believe me, it'll fix it. It'll make it better than if we just hopped right over into effects. All right, so let's go back over to move, and now we'll take this image, and we'll call this one. Let's kind of think ahead here. We'll call this one foreground. Okay, and then we'll create a copy of that. I just hit Command J to do that. And we'll call this sky. All right, so let's do the foreground first and then hop over into effects. And with effects, you probably know this already. You can work with either presets on the left-hand side, which are just collections of the settings you can create over here, or you can just start over here. What I usually like to do is start over here on the left-hand side with the presets that I've made or the ones that On1 has provided, and then kind of just add or take away from there. So let's go into landscapes and let's just see what we can start doing here. So again, we're only working with the foreground here. That's all we need to look at. So let's try this golden glow, because what I want to do is kind of warm up the foreground. Now, the first thing you can do is just add the golden glow and then just take the opacity down and then just bring it in until you get the effect that you're looking for on that foreground. And that might be enough here, but why don't we just do this instead? I think golden hour enhancer is going to be a little bit better. So we can try that, and then let's add some contrast, bring in a little bit more contrast here. Okay. And then we'll take that back just a little bit. Okay, and I think, let's see, I kind of like it a little bit brighter. So let's go down to our tone enhancer, bring our exposure up a little bit, contrast up. Okay, so I think that's good for there. So we'll hit done. And that will render that and make it permanent. Let's just wait on that little bar there to finish, and it'll take us right back in here. Now we can't see the change because the sky layer on top is on. So if we turn that off, now this is our, let's turn these ones on too so we can see everything. So this is our before and after, okay? So what we need to do here is just paint it in. So we'll hit Command I to throw a black layer on top of that, or a black mask on top of it. And then we'll grab our quick mask tool, and since I have a black mask over this image, we want to use paint in or green. If we hit X, it would switch over to red or paint out. Now we could do paint out across the sky, and it would take that out of the foreground or out of this mask, but it's already black. So we want to choose what we want to bring into the image, which is going to be green. And what we want to bring into this mask, or what we want to make white in the mask, is going to be the foreground. And I know that's probably a little bit confusing if you're not super familiar with masking, but here's what's going to happen. This is why On1 is by far and away the best masking software out there. I've used it for so long and I love it. All I have to do to get going here with the mask is start drawing a line through the foreground and let On1 know what I want to keep in the image. So I'll pull this over into this kind of slightly more vague mountain range back there, or part of the mountains back there. I don't know how it's going to do, but I think it'll do pretty good on this more obvious part. So I'm just going to draw along here. And what will happen is it's going to look at that line that I drew, and it's going to say, okay, well, this is what he wants to keep, and this is what he wants to get rid of. So you can see that that's what happened. It pulled in a good portion of those mountains, and then I can just go into my masking and then just fix it as needed. Okay. And I'll probably go down to, let's go back around 40%, and then just bring some of that mountain range in. I need to make my masking, or my feather, a little bit more apparent. And the more I'm looking at that, it's going to be pretty hard. I could refine it, but let's just see what it looks like if we kind of just take that back down to the cooler color, because it is, you know, raining back there, and that would get rid of the warmth. And the lightning strike is there, and you know, you don't want to warm up the strike, so you'd have to worry about masking around the strike. Okay, and then maybe we'll take our opacity down to 20, and then just kind of go along the edge of the range here, just to create a nice little feather there. And this is pretty intensive work, so you can probably hear my computer fan kicking in. Okay, so I think that's good for the foreground. Let's see here. We can view the mask here and see what we're working with. You can make this a little softer if we need to, but I think that's pretty good right there. Oops. Let's go back here. There we go. Okay, and now let's get to work real quick on the sky. So we'll go back into effects. And now we need to find something for the sky. So just to change things up a bit, instead of using the presets over here and working from there, let's just build something in here real quick. So we'll go to add filter. And the first thing that I usually like to grab is this dynamic contrast, just because it works really well and it's really customizable. So we can go into the highlights and make those stronger or weaker, which is really affecting this part over here. I want to bring down the shadows rather. Okay, add some more contrast. And you kind of it's just kind of like creating a little dance between small, medium, and large. You know, the large is going to be your big hammer, and small is going to be more of a scalpel. It's going to be much more subtle. So try to do things with small first, and then be a little bit more sparing with the large. That's kind of how I look at it, I guess. And you can also play with the presets here. You can do soft, surreal, neutral. Of course, I try to stick more towards the neutral, or natural rather, but you know, you do what you want. Bring up the small, bring down the blacks a little bit. I want to make this look nice and ominous. But I do like bringing that blue back in. Okay, so I think that looks good. And then we'll go into our, I want to add a little bit of noise reduction. So we'll do that. And let's go with subtle first. Let's zoom in here. And do that. I want to get nice and close on the pixels here and see what we need to do here to get rid of some of this noise. Okay. Now I'm zoomed in really close here. This is 100%, but I think that's looking pretty good right there. I'll hit Command 0 to fit to screen, and we'll turn this on and off to see the difference. Okay. I think that's good right there. So you don't want it to go too overboard with the noise reduction. Now what's good is that this noise reduction is on top, but I can go ahead and add more filters if I want, and then I can just move the noise reduction back to the top, because you really want noise reduction to be one of your last steps. So I can go in here and let's see what else we could do with this. We could do like tone enhancer and just play with the sky a little bit more, add some more contrast in addition to the dynamic, and just further get this to what we're going for. Okay, and then we can just grab this noise reduction and move it up top. Come on, right there. Okay. All right, so let's hit done here, and we'll see what we did in effects. And now we just need to bring that into just the sky and leave out the foreground. So we'll do the same thing we did before, just sort of in reverse. We'll go for the quick mask, and we want to invert the mask and then bring in just the sky here. So we'll draw through the lightning bolt here, through that part of the mountains, and then all along the top here, and then all the way across there. And we'll see how that does. Hopefully it'll do pretty well. Okay, I did pretty good. We can just refine it by drawing along there. All right, let's go back over here and we'll paint with 100% and then just clean up here. Not sure why we were getting that little band across the top, but it must have been picking up something that I didn't see. So we'll just get really close to the ridge line here, but not do a perfect job since we're painting with 100. And then I'll go back and paint with a lighter opacity to make it a little bit more seamless. So we'll take our opacity down near 20, and now we'll get a little bit closer to that ridge. Right, like so. It's looking pretty good. And now what I always do is anytime I make big changes to the image like this, because we made a big change to the top and a big change to the bottom, and we're trying to create like a seamless blend between the two. So now I'll just take the opacity of this change that I made, and I'll usually just take it all the way back down to 0 and see if I like it before, because I don't always keep the changes that I make. And then I'll take it back to 100 and say, okay, well, maybe that's too strong. And then I'll just go back and forth until I find a good medium ground, like so. And then I'll do the same thing with this foreground. I'll take this all the way back down, all the way back up, and find a good stopping point. And this just further blurs the line, no pun intended, but it blurs the line between the two elements of the image, and it makes it a little bit more seamless. All right, so I think that's a good stopping point for this. I know this one ran a little bit long, but there is a lot to do, and it's not very easy to do quickly without explaining it in depth, because it's kind of confusing if you haven't done it before. So if you guys have any questions, let me know, and I hope you enjoyed this. I'll get some presets created for the things that we did in effects, and you'll have the image to follow along with. So thanks, guys, and have a great one. Bye.